Hey friends, welcome to Hayes' Guitar Studio. Today we are practicing combining chords with single notes. I encourage my beginning guitar students to focus their practice on two main areas. Number one, chords. A chord is where we're playing more than one note at a time. Often we're holding a position with our left hand and we're strumming multiple strings. We can hear that all those strings are ringing out at the same time. This is often done with strumming patterns behind a singer or a melodic instrument, something like this. Number two, single notes. We play one string, one note at a time. This is often done when we're playing riffs or solos or melodies on the instrument. We also do it to make our accompaniment more interesting. I like to introduce this concept with a few musical examples. We hear guitar players of all genres combining these two elements of guitar playing. One I like to play a lot is Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. I'll demonstrate. So you can hear there, I'm playing some chords, playing a chord at the beginning and letting it ring while I play some melodic notes around it. We hear the chords and the melody, and that's a foundational part of that beautiful song. Other times we might use this technique to create a more interesting accompaniment line behind a singer or behind a melodic instrument. One of my personal guitar heroes, Jimi Hendrix, did this all the time. And in fact, I think it's something he revolutionized in modern guitar playing. Let's look at Hey Joe as an example. I can play the chords to Hey Joe with a strumming pattern, and it will sound like the song. Jimmy would usually do something a little bit more like this. That's a lot more fun to listen to, right? We're combining some single notes there, we're playing some chords, we're making our accompaniment more interesting. Before we can fluidly move between single notes and chords, I recommend practicing the two elements separately. In today's exercise, we are going to use the chords G and C, and we are going to use a G Major Pentatonic Scale. If you aren't familiar with these, I recommend pausing the video, spending some time on the chords and the scale before you come back to this lesson. I have a pentatonic practice video over here that might help you out. You can check that out. Let's get right into the exercise. We're going to do one measure of chord strumming, and then we're going to do a measure of single notes from the pentatonic scale. First, we're going to keep things really simple and do even quarter notes. 1 beat per note. So 4 beats in our measure, 4 notes, 4 strums. I will demonstrate, then I'll walk you through it. You can see there I'm strumming my G major chord 4 times, that's our measure of 4, and then I'm selecting 4 notes from the scale and going right back into the chord. Let me stress the importance of playing in time, of playing rhythm. It's better to flub some notes than it is to let your rhythm fall apart. Let me say that again. It's better to flub a few notes and keep your rhythm than it is to play all your notes perfectly but let your rhythm fall apart. Often when I first teach people this exercise, they do something like this. Those are two totally different rhythms. It's okay, at first I know you're not going to be able to do it perfectly in time, perfectly evenly. That's fine. I am suggesting that as you practice this exercise, you think about the rhythm and you work towards getting a nice smooth rhythm between your single notes and your chords. Okay, let's practice a few examples together here. I'm going to do some tab below for you. So we're going to do our G chord, our G major chord, looks like this, 4 strums, and then we're going to do 4 single notes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a simple example. I'm doing the same single note line and the same chord back to back. If we wanted to make it just a little more interesting, I'm going to add in a second line, and we'll do the second line and the first line. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you want to keep that going until it feels comfortable to switch back and forth, and you can stay in time, keep things smooth. Today we are using a chord and a scale that fit really nicely together. They live in the same key, so you can flex your improvisational skills by choosing different notes from the scale when you sit down to do this. I'll give you a few examples where I'm just going to play some notes. I'm just going to improvise some notes when it comes time to do the single notes. So I'm improvising there. I'm just picking some notes when the time comes to play single notes. I'm thinking about my scale, coming up with a little musical idea, and doing it. That's really what I recommend practicing as you get better at this. Improvise for your single note parts. Get the scale going up and down, different directions. Have some fun. That's the first part of the exercise. I know it's really simple, but it's really helpful in getting you to switch your thinking between chord mode and single note mode. As we first start practicing guitar, these do exist as different modes. As you practice this stuff, we get to become more like Jimmy. We get to combine our single notes and our chords and have these nice flowing lines that also include chords. In part 2 of this video, I'm going to walk you through some ways you can make this a little bit harder, get a little bit more work out of it as you get better at the first part. Way number 1 is to turn your single note lines into eighth notes. Eighth notes get half a beat, so we would play 8 eighth notes in our single note measures. Let me demonstrate, then I'll show you a few examples. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can hear there my single notes are going twice as fast as my chords. I'm still focusing on playing a nice, clean, consistent rhythm between the two. Let's do a few examples together. I'll do some simple eighth note runs. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Still keeping consistent rhythm, still focused on getting a nice smooth sound between our two different elements. The second way you can make this more challenging and a little bit more like our real world musical applications is to change chords. So we're going to use G and then we're going to use C for our second measure of chords. So I'm going to go 1 measure of G chord, 4 pentatonic quarter notes. We'll go back to quarter notes. 1 measure of C chord, 4 pentatonic notes again. I'll demonstrate, then I'll walk you through an example. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Let's try one together. I'll do some simple examples here. 1, 2, 3, 4. For some of you, this may seem simple, alternating your chords and your single notes. If you practice this, it will help you get to that effortless flow type of sound we get from Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles and all these great guitar players. This is part 1 in a series that I'm going to do. In the next part, I'm going to walk you through how to do this in the context of a blues progression, which is often how we hear it. We hear a lot of blues players do this type of thing. I'm also going to show you how to start combining and not to do them back to back. Hit subscribe down below, come practice with me. I've got more practice content coming. I've got intermediate lessons, mindful lessons, beginner lessons, and some pretty cool guitar videos.